Hi, Matt Talbot.
Hello.
I finally grabbed you right back from France. You've been amazing to catch up to and graceful for this interview. I know that you don't have any time, and I appreciate it very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. It's my pleasure.
I have some. First of all, I'd like to go through the research that I've done, not only from your extensive background in acting and directing and writing, but the fact that I was also present watching you alone procure something that I will never forget, and it's right behind you, called Reptile. Thank you for being here.
You're welcome.
Number one, my first question is, what was the first time that you, as a child, as a young adult, felt that you wanted to go into this business?
Yeah, it actually wasn't until later. I graduated high school, and I had never done any theater besides a third grade play. So a friend of mine in undergrad asked me if I wanted to go audition for a play. I said yes. I got a tiny part, and then I fell in love with it, and I changed my major, and then I just kept doing theater after that.
This is interesting to me because I hear so many different stories of actors, writers, directors who fell in love at a younger age.
Yeah.
And your story now, I had no idea till just this moment, and I find that it's wonderful. Why? Because other people then can look at this interview and say, well, it didn't hit him until the certain age, which I think is great. Thank you. I'm amazed, and yet I love the fact that it didn't hit you till later in school, grad school.
Yeah.
Now, from there, I've done a lot of research on you. But I'm going to ask you the first question that comes to mind as the interviewer. What was your first movie? What was your favorite first movie?
That I was in or that I watched?
Both.
First movie, well, one of my all-time favorite movies is Shawshank Redemption.
Wonderful.
I love that film. It's beautiful. I've seen it a million times. I just watched it again not that very long ago. The first thing that I was in, the first play I was in made me fall in love with the art form, but the first small part though. So the first play I was in, I was already in love. So the first play I was in where I really had any lines was a play called Vivian, which was a one-act festival. I can't even remember the playwright at this point, but I played a character that I sort of modeled off my dad, and then my family, they came and watched it. My parents are divorced, and my sisters and my mom, they were laughing when they shouldn't have been, because I do a good impression of my dad. Not that I wasn't trying to offend him, but they were laughing in places they shouldn't, because they're like, that sounds exactly like Dad.
Which is great.
Yeah, which was fun. Yeah, it was good.
So, moving on from there, I love that. I love looking into the heart of an actor, of a writer, director that you are, with so much experience behind you that you willingly just give out, as you did in Reptile. It was an amazing experience. Now, I have to go back again. You are SAG, you're AFTRA, you are, let me see, in all the...
Equity.
Your Equity, SAG, AFTRA, and I'm also looking, this is from IMDb, you also, have accents, you have experience in fighting, training in the platform just doesn't stop. I was amazed because I've known you from a distance, from the acting point of view.
Yeah.
Because I've asked you questions about directing and how this particular scene should be shot. And now I get to know you in a different way. I mean, you're just back again from France. You're hopefully touring, taking Reptile with you.
Yeah,
You're going to be doing. Now, tell me something that's really important, and this is for an MFA class, right?
Mm-hmm.
How important is the writing process?
For
A play, for a movie?
Well, I think that writing, without good writing, you don't have anything.
Perfect.
If the script's bad, the best actor in the world can only do so much with it. And to me, it's more about the writing's the most important part. I mean...
And you've done many movies. You've been in many plays across the country. You attended Wayne University.
Yeah.
And
Wayne State, but yes, same idea.
Thank you. Wayne State University.
In Detroit.
And you toured and were in many productions across the country.
Mm-hmm.
And so you bring to this interview and to us, the audience, something that is inexplicable, except it comes from your heart.
Mm-hmm.
As I was in the audience watching on your opening night of Reptile, and packed house. I'm the interviewer now, and I'm saying to you, I'm getting emotional, which is not supposed to happen. But through you had no break at all.
No.
You presented yourself raw to us. You walked back and forth on the stage. You gave us your soul. You bled your soul in your words. You meant it. We felt it. We reacted. How did that feel?
Scary. Vulnerable. I've never done a one-man show I've never done a one-man show. I've never done a one-man show that I wrote. I've done some stand-up comedy, but I've never done a one-man show that I wrote. So it was the most terrifying acting experience I've ever had. But it was also, it's like walking on a tightrope over, and it's a thrill, but it's also, part of the reason it's a thrill is because it's terrifying. And when you feel the audience sink into what you're doing, there's no feeling like that, because you can, when you're on, and it's impossible to be on, I think most people aren't on 100% of a show. There's going to be some times when, even if the audience doesn't quite know it, that you pop out. But when you feel that sort of relationship with the audience, there's nothing else like it. That's what makes most people fall in love.
As an audience member, I can say that we all felt you. So that was the connection that was just amazing. And when you take Reptile to Broadway,
hopefully, yeah.
I think that your audience will feel, this is my opinion, but I believe it's so true that your raw soul was out is almost respectfully, here's my soul.
Right.
And this is what I've experienced in my soul, and I give it to you as a gift. If that makes sense to you, that's exactly how most of us in the audience accepted watching you.
Well, that's about the highest compliment I could get, because that's what I was going for. So, yeah, that's huge. I mean, that's what I wanted to do. So, like I said, it's scary, especially when you wrote it. You never know if it's going to work. You never know if it's going to work until you get it in front of people.
But what's interesting now, first of all, when did you get the idea? Second, how long did it take you to write exactly what you wanted?
So I started out trying to write I used to do stand-up 10, 12 years ago. I started out trying to write a stand-up comedy set. And the more and I've done it before, but I thought I want to do some more stand-up. The more I wrote it, the more I thought this isn't funny. Some of Reptile is funny, but I thought this isn't funny, and I wrote and I wrote and I wrote, and I thought this is a one-man show. And when I wrote the section that talks about our inner reptile or amygdala, that's when I thought, oh, that's what the whole show hangs on. So that then informed the rest of my writing for the show, and I ended up with 3 hours, which would have been, an audience can't sit through that, and I don't think I could have memorized that. So obviously that was too long. That took me, I wrote like a maniac. I don't think I've ever written like that quite before in the past. The first very rough draft took me a month and a half. So I was writing every day, 7 days a week, 4 or 5 hours a day. So, and even when I was not writing, I was writing in my head. Then it took me another 4 months to do all the rewriting and to cut stuff a lot. Half, more than half, because I think the show came in at about 110. So that was really difficult because I had to cut stuff that I liked, but it gets easier when you see it get better when you cut.
That's exactly why. Thank you for answering so candidly, because earning an MFA for students who are in this, right in this now, it's about writing, rewriting, and then when you get down to the bones of what your protagonist, antagonist is after, or what they're trying to block, as you proved watching you, it was the bones of your soul. Again, I've said it maybe now, 3 or 4 times.
It's amazing.
But we felt that it had everything else had been stripped away. And if we all could find the talent that you have and get people back into theaters and people back in watching live performances. I think that this is part of my goal, and I think that I'm from chasing you around all this morning from one theater to the other theater that we were going to interview in. And to let my audience know that one of them had a leak and they were trying to dry it out. The other one, then another class came in. But it was amazing to watch you in control saying, well, this won't work in the theater, so we'll go somewhere else. And this is exactly what writers and actors and directors have to go through to get what? The bones of what we're after. And that's why I thank you again for this interview and what you are giving us as your audience and taking with us. I will never forget all of the plays that I've seen you in, and I did all kinds of research on you, Matt Talbott, and in IMDb'ing you, I found you in movies that there you are.
Right.
And so I know that this is taking you away from your time because you're in rewrites again and you're constantly running to do that. But I'm looking behind you at Reptile, and I wish you all the luck in the world to get this on Broadway as fast as possible.
That's a dream.
And also to say that without you, that took the time to write properly and to edit properly and then to present it as you did, was an amazing journey that I'm now looking at your eyes and remembering as you were standing there. And I also have to say to whoever is watching this, at the end, you had a standing ovation. You didn't disappear like most actors do. You were outside, and I could physically see you shaking from the high, but also the emotion that you had to pull through.
Yeah.
This was something that you procured without a break, without, I think you had one glass of water in the side when you sat for one part of the scene, and continued. This was an amazing journey, and I again want you to add anything to this interview today that you think is important to students, audiences, MFA, directors, producers, actors who are trying to be like you.
Stay with it, for one thing. If you love it enough and you follow your heart, the art comes. But if you think about it purely, my experience, if you try to think about it of, well, what does everybody want, and everybody needs to like me, and what's marketable, and what is this? Some people are successful that way. That has never worked for me. I think I'm the best when I think about what my voice is, and...
May I correct that? Your soul.
My soul is, sure. But that's your voice, I think. As a writer and as an actor, etc., is the ability to be vulnerable and show people who you are and why it's important that you say what you want to say. But you've got to be, and I still struggle with this, you've got to stay true to yourself and say what you want to say, and think about why it's important that you say it particularly, and what you have to offer from your particular perspective. And not what other people want, again, but what you want to say. Not everybody's going to love you for that, but I think that's where the art comes from, because painting, writing, playing music, which I wish I was good at and I can't do.
Lonely is writing.
It's lonely.
Lonely is writing.
It's really lonely, and you have great days and you have days that you think, why do I bother with this at all? It's a battle. I mean, I told my wife last night that I'm trying to, you take what you learn from an audience. You never know what they're going to do with it. But you have to learn from them, and when you do a show and then you think, okay, I want to make some adjustments, it's really, to me, an experience. I feel like I'm wrestling with the script right now, because there's parts I like that I might have to get rid of. There's parts that that I felt like didn't do exactly what I want them to do. Those are going to be easier to get rid of than the other parts. And then thinking about, I can't get longer, because people can't watch more than an hour or something of one person, I think.
I disagree. Because I was there, and I'm interrupting you, but I disagree, because I almost felt, and I think that I heard this from behind me too. You had a packed house.
Yeah.
And I heard, it's done. We wanted more. So you left us.
Right.
Actually, in the perfect place.
Right.
And that's why.
How you have to leave it. Yeah.
And that's why you. I wish it upon you. I know that you've never talked about it because you're so humble. But I wish upon you that Academy Award for the humility, the work that you've put into every production that you've either done on stage, movies, practiced, learned your lines, written, rewritten.
Right, yeah.
So I wish for you that Academy Award that you already earned, as far as I'm concerned.
That would be incredible. Not everybody gets those. I wish for me that I can just keep on doing this, because it's not always easy, you know, and being able to keep doing it when you get older is hard. And I've got a lot of people, friends who I think are very talented, and they don't do it anymore because they've got to take care of families, they've got to, you know, put food on the table. But to me it feels like something I have to do as opposed to something I just want to do because it's who I am.
You can't not do.
I can't. I've not done it before and I'm miserable. So it's just a part of me. And I don't want to come off as being self-important when I say that, because I don't think, you know, someone who builds an incredible cabinet or someone who is really good at, you know, a fireman who's really good at their job, it's all important. And I don't think that acting or writing or directing is necessarily more important than that. And I think if you look at it that way, it's what you do. And if you love it, then your work will speak for itself. But if you're doing it for other motivations,
Right.
Some people do that and it's still okay, but I don't think it can be really good. I don't think it can speak to everybody. I can't remember where I started that, but I think that there are people in this business who think that what they do is the most important thing in the world. And, you know, there's a war in Ukraine going on right now. That's more important than what I do.
Well,
you know.
So I'm getting. I am honored to be able to sit with, again, my actor, producer, director, writer. I mean writer who just touches the inside of each one of us. I'm honored to have chased you around and had, you know, this time that you took out of your busy schedule to sit down and show me who you really are. And it's not about the award. That's the interview, that's from me. I want this for you, and, you know, may you have it. And, you know, if it does come to you, it doesn't matter. That's what I love about this interview with you, is I see that you have to act, you have to write, and you have to produce, never mind anything else. The accolade is coming from within. And I thank you for the time. Matt Talbot, may you write many, many more of your one-man shows, or for a whole cast of us.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much.
It's been my pleasure. Thanks.
Thank you.